Okay, I have 1 minute past the hour, so we'll go ahead and start. Welcome all to the NFC Forum Retail and Payment webinar. Thank you for joining our session today. Our agenda and speakers will be as follows. Matt Bright, Chair of the NFC Forum's Retail and Payment Working Group, will present industry trends, tips for reaching the connected consumer, and he will introduce our newest retail and payment white paper, Bridging Digital and Physical Retail with NFC. The use cases and case studies will be presented by Amir Kosh, Global Partnership Alliances and Product Marketing at SmartTrack, Rachel First, Director of Product Marketing at Blue Byte, and Carlo Carminetti, Sales and Marketing Director at One True ID, and Paul Butler, Product Manager at Thin Film. Can you read this? We are recording today's session, and we will post the replay, audio with the slides, on the NFC Forum Retail and Payment webpage. We will also send out the recording with the slides to all who have registered to attend today's event. We will have a Q&A session at the end of today's call, and all attendees are on mute. However, for the Q&A session, there's a panel on the bottom right of the GoToWebinar screen where you can type in your questions at that time. Welcome all, and now I'd like to turn it over to your host, Matt Bright. Matt, please begin. Matt, are you with us?
Yep. Yes, thanks very much, Susan, and welcome to all of you who are joining us live around the world on today's broadcast. And if you're joining us later via the recorded session, a very warm welcome to you as well. Susan mentioned, my name is Matthew Bright, and I have the distinct honor of serving as chair of the NFC Forum's Retail and Payment Working Group. Our organization is chartered to evaluate and promote the best applications for NFC technology in the retail and payment domains. From time to time, we publish public documents to help stakeholders, including brands, retail technology providers, and system integrators, to better understand how NFC affects their business today, as well as how they can take advantage of the technology in order to improve their business in the future. So we go to the next slide, the agenda, and you'll see that today's webinar is divided into 5 parts. So Susan, if we can move to the next slide, please. All right, so first I'll introduce the NFC Forum's latest white paper entitled Bridging Digital and Physical Retail with NFC. This new document is required reading for anyone who wants to deploy NFC in an omni-channel retail or payment environment. And second, I'll walk through at a very high level the trends that are shaping the retail and payment industries in this era of the connected consumer. We've all seen the dramatic change in the retail space in recent years as traditional bricks and mortar retailers have added technology to meet their customers online, while brand new retailers who started online are now introducing their very own physical stores. So from either starting point, it's clear that the future of retail is omni-channel, a hybrid of physical and digital. Next, and what's sure to be the highlight of this webcast, is the presentation of 4 case studies describing real in-market deployments covering a variety of vertical markets, including apparel, sporting goods, footwear, and food and beverage. You're going to hear directly from industry experts responsible for some of the most innovative NFC implementations to date and understand how they were implemented and the kinds of results they achieved. Then following that, I'll make you even hungrier to deploy NFC by presenting a diverse menu of NFC use cases that can be deployed today. You'll see how NFC can improve the consumer engagement, gather valuable analytics at every stage of the consumer journey, pre-purchase, in-store, as well as post-purchase. And finally, we'll take your questions, so please feel free to ask those throughout the session using the GoToWebinar console. All right, to the next slide. So I'm glad we're having this conversation today because it's a really key moment for so many types of businesses. We're experiencing a massive convergence of omni-channel retail, direct brand-to-consumer marketing, and mobile technology usability and availability. Now, did you know that today, worldwide, there are more than 2 billion NFC-capable smartphones in the hands of consumers? We want you to be able to take advantage of that technology and that installed base. In order to do that, the white paper will teach you the basics of NFC and what it can enable for brands and retailers. It'll describe how NFC can be used to enhance each stage of the consumer journey, and then it'll help you to get started with your first implementation of NFC technology. This free white paper is available now on the NFC Forum website, And for live attendees, you'll receive a direct link to download the white paper, plus other relevant NFC Forum material in your email. I encourage you to read it. Now, no matter your position in the industry, and regardless of your position in your own company, NFC is going to affect you, so it's best to be prepared. All right, to the next slide. So let's find out why we're living in a particularly important time. So to the next slide, we'll talk about the retail and brand realities. These are some insights from what we see in the market today. So first and foremost, consumer concept of loyalty is changing. Brands and retailers have historically invested heavily in building and maintaining brand loyalty, but today's consumers have more choices than ever, including more quality choices than ever. Now, this has created a crisis for traditional brands in which 90 of the top 100 have seen share declines in recent years. This ties directly to data that reveals that fully 2/3 of surveyed consumers said that they're considering many more brands than they had considered a decade ago. So the seemingly infinite warehouses accessible through e-commerce providers provide opportunities to quickly and easily compare more options than ever before. Take a moment to consider the difference between the 1990s approach, which was scanning a store's shelf to compare perhaps the 2 or 3 options available in a particular product category, and the 2018 approach, where you scan dozens of results representing brands from around the world, major and minor, well-known or not, and brands and retailers need to encourage loyalty. So in addition to this, consumer experience scores have flatlined. Today's consumers expect more, and the best omni-channel implementations will attract both their attention and their loyalty. Now on the next slide, it all goes without saying that mobile has become the preferred way to get online. Now in fast-moving countries like China, this happened some time ago. However, even in large developed economies, they've now reached that tipping point where the majority of the population will first reach for their mobile device when they want to get something done. Now, this means that even traditional physical retail depends on mobile. More than 90% of consumers use their devices while they're in store. Now, this means that brands and retailers need to identify and adopt technologies that, with speed and excellent usability, bridge that gap between physical products and the digital experiences that bring them to life for today's consumers. Now, we have data on what those consumers prefer. A recent study confirmed that shoppers preferred to engage using NFC technology by a margin of 2-to-1 compared to QR codes, and a stunning 8-to-1 margin compared to Bluetooth beacons. So now we're going to talk about how to reach that connected consumer. So on the next slide, what are brands and retailers to do? So first, they need to prioritize connections between the physical and digital worlds. Omnichannel commerce has grown significantly. Now, brands need to think about creating omnichannel brands where digital resources enhance the experience delivered by the physical product. Second, brands and retailers need to create direct channels to consumers to sidestep the chaos of search-based approaches to brand discovery and education. This will cut through the noise created by this environment of seemingly infinite choice. Third, with a direct channel to the consumer, you can start to provide information of great contextual value, meaning information that is immediately useful to a decision a consumer is making. Now, if you can provide an answer to a question in a consumer's head right then, such as, where should I buy this? Or how do I use it? You're on a path toward completing the sale or encouraging loyalty. Now to the next slide, 3 more tips on reaching the connected consumer. Fourth, you need to keep in mind that the simplest engagements are usually the best. Don't overcomplicate the interaction, and that means keep load times quick on any sort of mobile experience, bring the most useful information to the foreground immediately, and simplify data entry whenever possible. Now, because many NFC tags are encoded in ways that make them uniquely identifiable, you can provide useful item-level provenance information, product registration forms, or customer service inquiries with the vast majority of the information already filled out. That's one good way to increase your conversion metrics. Fifth, you can take advantage of technologies that reach beyond the point of sale. NFC simplifies consumer engagement before and after purchase, and that same NFC-enabled product or package can be used to extend the direct consumer channel throughout the product's lifecycle, including the replenishment or reordering process. That's how you maintain loyalty. And finally, Cloud-based NFC solutions allow you to gather analytics, leading to real-time insights on consumer behavior that were previously unavailable to marketers. As industry experts say, data is the new oil, and brands that can use interaction data to optimize the consumer experience will have a significant advantage over the competition. So now, let's hear from the industry experts who live and breathe NFC on a daily basis. We've handpicked 4 diverse case studies to give you a sense of how NFC is being used today, and more importantly, what kinds of results you can expect from an NFC deployment. Following the case studies, I'll return with some additional ideas of how you can use NFC to improve your consumer engagement in pre-purchase, in-store, and post-purchase environments. So first, I'd like to introduce Amir Kosh of SmartTrack. Amir, please go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. So from SmartTrack's perspective, we're going to kick things off with a use case we had with Adidas. This use case had a couple different components to it. First of which, it provided authentication for Adidas. In this case, it was with their soccer balls that were used in the World Cup. It also provided a level of factory control as well. So we could think of it in a way that, for example, if bill of materials was sent for factory to produce, let's say, 6,000 soccer balls, this produced the ramification around it. So only 6,000 balls were produced, and that there would be no overruns and no gray market diversion or any of channeling of balls and volumes that weren't within the parameters that Adidas had set. With the NFC technology, we were able to tap a ball, have the consumer authenticate that the ball was in fact a true validated Adidas ball. It would give the authentic ID of the ball, the number of taps the ball has had, and it would also give the digital birth certificate and creation date for that ball. And if we move to the next slide, I can talk through a couple other points. So as mentioned, the overall challenge was really counterfeiting and also factory control at the item level. We were able to provide that authentication with the tap. We were also able to give insights as to where the specific person that was engaging with that product was located around the world. They were allowed to see and expose the insights of where other members that had purchased balls and they were tapping with it were located. It had gamification aspects to it as well, so they could sign up for challenges with the ball and engage with it, and then also had some cross promotion and marketing that was able to be provided with the engagements with the ball. And if we can move to the next slide. So as a result of what we were able to do with Adidas, we used our NFC inlay, or specifically our Circus Flex tag. We were able to digitize the balls through our SmartTrack enablement stations. So we were able to merge the SKU data to the inlay and then provide the unique M-tag ID that sent it over to the experience. What we have found to date is we've had about 600,000 touch points. So it has been a huge success, and this number is still growing as these balls are still being engaged with, and the personas are still gamifying and utilizing it. And it's proven a market now more and more that NFC is growing, and in the same realm that the insights for Adidas are proven to be more value as they're learning more and more about their consumers and how they engage with it. So great use case here with Adidas, and I will pass it over to the next reference use case.
All right, thanks very much, Amir. So we can go ahead. I think there's one more slide showing the mobile experience for Adidas. So very beautiful look and feel there to get a sense of where and when people are interacting. So we'll move on to the next presenter. It's my pleasure to welcome Rachel First of Blue Byte. So if we can move to the next slide. And Rachel, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel, and I'm Director of Product Marketing at Blue Byte. The case study that we're presenting today is the work we did with SneakerCon. For those who are unfamiliar with the brand, they are sort of a sneaker lifestyle brand where people come to their convention every year. It's very, very popular. They hold it in many cities across the globe to trade sneakers, buy sneakers. Usually these are like low quantity, super high value. And so because of that, they have a lot of issues with counterfeits. And so the sort of NFC enablement project we did with them was for authentication. So if we go to the next slide, the challenge that SneakerCon was really faced with was twofold. First, they wanted a more bulletproof solution for their legit tag. They had people at the conferences who were, visibly, by eye inspecting the sneakers, but they had no way to sort of verify that nobody kind of circumvented that system. And the second is that they wanted to communicate digitally to the sneakerhead community, meaning like their main fans and audiences. And so their goals were to become the standard of what is authentic, right? Their whole brand is based on the reputation they hold in order to authenticate the shoes that come through their convention. And the second was to create a digital marketplace that would mimic the actual in real life experience that people got at the convention, but on their phones or online. So to do that, we implemented a physical NFC-enabled tag that could be fastened to the sneakers. It should be noted that these tags were tamper-proof, and so a sort of improvement that was made is that these tags could not be removed once they were put on the sneakers, so that really helped to maintain the sort of verified status of those sneakers. And if we go to the next slide, I can talk a little bit about, the actual solution. So it was two parts. There was improvements to the actual convention itself, and then there was also the creation of an official SneakerCon digital marketplace app. So as I mentioned, at the convention, you used to have these like authenticators who would inspect the shoes by eye, say, okay, it's legit or it's not. But now they were empowered using NFC tags to really authenticate the sneakers. And what they did is once they, used their expertise to determine a shoe was real, they would then activate a physical NFC tag and encode on it the different details of the shoe. So the make, the brand, the size, the condition, and they would also include an official SneakerCon digital stamp of authenticity. Once the tag was encoded, it was fastened to the sneaker. The digital details could not be changed or reversed. And the tag itself was tamper-proof, so it could not be removed from the sneaker without actually breaking it. So moving to the next slide to talk about the actual app itself. The app was a marketplace where sneakerheads could buy and sell sneakers. It integrated with the authentication process at the show. So when you got your sneaker authenticated, you could then tap the tag, it would upload into your virtual closet, and it would have that verified badge. And what was really great about that is that you couldn't get that sort of stamp of approval from SneakerCon organization unless you tapped that tag. So it was a really great way to get engagement and to really have fans interact with the tags themselves. And so you can see here through the results that we enabled over 3,000 tags, of which 34 were activated within 60 days. And because the app we built with them was so valuable, they had over 50,000 downloads within the first month of the launch. So now I'd love to pass it on to the next presenter, Carlo Carminati.
And thanks so much, Rachel. It's really great to see how NFC is being able to increase consumer confidence in the products that they buy and help to continue that sense of brand value, especially for exclusive merchandise. So thanks again for that presentation. So next, a welcome and a good evening to Carlo Carminati of One True ID. Carlo, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Yes, good evening to me because we are in Italy. So in this part of the world now is almost evening. So I'm the sales and marketing director from One True ID. One True ID is a startup, so a fresh new company that comes from a site. We deal with the solution to digitally identify products. And what we have done, thanks to NFC technology, is a very specific project, interesting project for our important customer called Alessandro Gherardi. Alessandro Gherardi is a shirt manufacturer, They asked us to reach these goals. Basically, they would like to have a solution to track and manage the resellers point for a specific product called made to measure. And it is a shirt made ad hoc for their customers. And also they would like to control the market for an anti-counterfeiting solution and have the traceability of the product. So the challenge was really challenging, really difficult, because was to find a way to put an NFC tag inside the shirt. So it's a textile. So we will have the challenge was to find an adequate tag resistant to washable cycles and easily to be inserted in the shirts. And that's what we have done. If you go to the next slide, I can show you what we have done. Specifically, we engineered a specific tag, an NFC tag, the orange around the one that you can see, that the customer inserts into the woven label, and then becomes initialized with the information connected to the customer ERP. So it gets the information and the unique ID that brings to the unique product manufactured by them, so the unique shirt. Thanks to this information and the 1-3D platform, what we have reached is a couple of main things. Features and benefits from the end user side. Thanks to an app, the end user can read by tapping his own shirts and gets the information about data, manufacturing, even the video of his specific shirt manufacturing process, and all the information about his own product. So that product is unique in the world and is mine. On the other side, we reach the goal to manage the resellers, giving to them, first of all, the control of which retail store is enabled to sell or not the kind of product. And if you're enabled, you can directly go to the ERP and put a new order, managing directly with the ERP the information about the collarbones, the buttons, and whatever, and that's it. In a few hours, you get your own and ad hoc shirt made. So we can move to the next slide. And this was possible thanks to the NFC technology. The NFC technology was opening the unique identification of every product. This is the key on whom a 1-3D solution platform is based on, and is the really winning key factor. So that's it. Thank you for your listening.
All right, thank you very much, Carlo. It's great to see how NFC is more than just a single tag for a single user in a single context. And we'll talk more about this later, but it really is interesting to see how a single NFC tag can have value to multiple users in the supply chain, as well as at multiple points of the consumer journey. So finally, a warm welcome to Paul Butler of Thin Film. Paul, please go ahead.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Paul Butler, and I am a product manager at Thin Film Electronics. We are an established NFC solution provider. So if we just go into the next slide, please. So today I'm going to be talking about a consumer engagement use case with Barbadillo. In the summer of 2017, Thin Film partnered with a large Spanish winery, Barbadillo, to deploy an NFC neck collar for a summer promotion to tap on the target for a chance to win €1,000. Barbadillo wanted a mobile marketing campaign with a fun and engaging experience, making it easy to learn and enter their contest. The simplicity of NFC provided a seamless, convenient, and superior experience compared to traditional methods such as QR code scan or typing in a complex URL into the mobile phone browser. So Barbadillo wanted to promote their flagship white wine as the perfect pair for summer drinking with seafood, especially in the coastal areas of Spain. Their consumers can interact in-store and or at home and enter their contact details to validate their entry for the competition. To implement the campaign, we integrated our hardware into neck collars with our conversion partner, and we used our cloud-based software platform to deliver an engaging consumer experience. The NFC integrated neck collar was applied to 126,000 bottles that were deployed in more than 200 major retail outlets around Spain. The advantage of a neck collar was that the campaign could be deployed quickly and the neck collars can be applied at any stage of the supply chain. It was a perfect way to deploy NFC at scale without the longer lead times associated with label integration. So NFC made it fast and easy for users to learn about their contest and enter to win that €1,000. If we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the campaign was an instant success, engaging consumers at multiple moments of truth, both in retail stores and at home where they were enjoying their wine. To participate in the campaign, consumers would simply touch their NFC-enabled phone to the NFC neck collar, which had printed instructions in Spanish and a bullseye marking where to tap the phone. Upon tapping, the phone contacted Thin Film's Connect cloud platform and triggered a digital mobile experience on the consumer's smartphone. When each consumer engaged with the bottle, their first tap, generally made at the store, explained how to enter the contest by purchasing the bottle and removing the cork to read a printed validation code. Then the second tap, generally made at home, directed the consumer directly to the entry form where they could enter their details and learn whether they had won. Prize winners popped up throughout Spain and generated buzz unmatched in previous campaigns. In fact, Barbadillo reported campaign return on investment of over €2 million. Not bad for a single summer promotion. If you go to the next slide, please. So what about the return on investment for Barbadillo? Thin Film's Connect cloud platform captured useful data that enabled Barbadillo to understand patterns of consumer engagement. In real time, Barbadillo could identify cities and regions where the campaign was taking off. This allowed for the intelligent placement of media support throughout the life of the campaign. This approach proved to be effective, generating double the new email subscribers of previous campaigns based on URLs or QR codes. And it wasn't just quantity, the quality of participation and engagement was even better. Consumers who joined the contest via NFC engaged with the contest website pages for nearly 3 times as long as consumers who originated from other channels. This demonstrates how NFC can attract more engaged consumers with higher purchase intent than those who discover the brand through other channels. Finally, the analytics tools in our cloud-based platform identified that 1/3 of consumers interacted with their bottles in 2 or more locations, showing how NFC can be used to understand consumer behavior from the point of purchase to the point of use. Barbadillo's campaign recently received a major industry award from the Mobile Marketing Association, proving that NFC can build consumer buzz, lead to consumer insights, and ultimately generate a positive return on investment in the drinks industry. If you'd like to learn more, you can download a full case study from our website at thinfilmnfc.com. Thanks very much, and I'll pass it back to Matt and Susan.
All right, thanks very much. It's great to see how NFC is not only generating more engagement than other technologies, but also higher quality engagement than other technologies. So thanks to all 4 of our presenters for sharing their expertise in how NFC technology can build a useful and measurable bridge between the physical and digital worlds. Now, I'd like to inspire you with some more ways to use NFC technology at each stage of the consumer journey, prior to purchase, at the moment of purchase, generally in store, and following the sale. Now, successful brands and omni-channel retailers know that today's consumers expect a high-quality experience throughout their engagement. So I'll give you some ideas to inspire your next NFC campaign. To the next slide, please. So the first step of the consumer journey, prior to purchase, the connected consumer spends his or her time doing online research, reading reviews on social media, checking prices, as well as viewing advertisements across multiple media channels. And brand discovery can begin really at any time, including when a consumer sees an NFC-enabled product or package at a friend's house or at the workplace. So with the touch of a phone, they can learn all about that product. Now, furthermore, NFC technology can be used to create buzz through non-traditional ads, whether it's an easy-to-use magazine insert or an NFC-enabled bus shelter advertisement. You can even set up the in-store sales process for success with NFC tags that are configured to quickly and easily book a showroom appointment or a personal service session. To the next slide, please. Now, the second phase of the consumer journey, once we actually have them in store, when the consumer arrives at the traditional physical store, brands and retailers have multiple opportunities to enrich the experience and help shoppers make an informed purchase. Because there's so many ideas here, I won't have time to cover each one in detail, but it's important to understand that a single NFC tag can become a consumer's gateway to a wealth of digital experiences, including loyalty program integration, offers integration, support integration, sometimes even in the form of chatbots or social media. Now, both for asking about products as well as reporting feedback into one's social network. Now, I want to point out that NFC technology can be integrated into mobile applications on every major mobile platform to support use cases like product comparisons, wish list registration, and even e-commerce integration for enhanced inventory availability checking. Now, for brands and retailers with strong mobile app strategies, many have found that their best and most loyal consumers use apps to engage regularly with the brand. So by integrating NFC into physical stores and physical products, you can take the next step to create a true omni-channel experience with the mobile app for your very best customers. All right, to the next slide, please. Excuse me. On the payment side, NFC payments can be used to simplify the user experience in a variety of environments. If you've ever used one of the NFC-based phone payment systems like Apple Pay, Google Pay, or Samsung Pay, you know just how easy it can be to simply touch the phone, which is probably already in your hand, to the payment terminal at the store. Now, this opens a wealth of possibilities when payments aren't shackled to a traditional cash register or point of sale environment. Retailers, for example, can deploy mobile points of sale, sometimes called MPOS, to put associates directly onto the sales floor and simplify the purchase process as soon as the customer is ready to buy. What's more, NFC payment dongles can be used with minimal setup to help micro merchants at fairs and kiosks to accept a full range of payment options, including contactless payments, for less than $100. That's a very low installation cost. And finally, when thirst or hunger strikes, NFC-enabled vending machines can make sure the consumer can buy regardless of whether they happen to be carrying the right change in their pocket. And that's a win for both sides of the transaction. Now, on the right side of the slide, you'll see that product and supply chain integrity is a $1 trillion issue globally. And as you learned from our presenters today, NFC technology is increasingly being used to help improve supply chain integrity by allowing end users to authenticate products in shops or after purchase. NFC technologies can also allow consumers to verify the integrity of an electronic seal to ensure that the item hasn't been tampered with or refilled with inferior or dangerous product. Now, in addition, NFC-enabled sensors can be deployed in cold chain environments like food, pharmaceuticals, even flowers, to create a powerful audit trail verifying that the monitored product was kept in the ideal temperature range during the entire journey from factory to end user. So at applications like vaccines, even insulin, lives are on the line, and NFC can help. Now, finally, let's talk about the post-purchase use cases. So on the next slide, once the consumer has made a purchase, that same NFC label that provided value in the earlier stages of the consumer journey will continue to provide value to the brand and retailer when that NFC tagged product is in the consumer's home or other point of use. Now, keep in mind that many in-store retail technologies will completely stop being useful the moment the consumer walks out of the store. Now, NFC is different. You can keep the relationship going, as well as all the analytics responsible for generating consumer behavioral insights, by making it easy to engage after the purchase, in what we call the consumption phase. Now, did you know that one of the most popular forms of YouTube content is instructional or how-to content? A single NFC tap can transport the consumer to your brand's own preferred instructional content so they get the right guidance, leading to the best possible results. There's no more sifting through search results that are controlled by a third-party algorithm. Instead, you, the brand or retailer, can curate exactly what the customer sees. Furthermore, you can use the technology to enable a feedback channel, whether it's to complete a satisfaction survey or file a customer service request. And thanks to the item level intelligence built into each uniquely identifiable NFC tag, your support team could know exactly which unit of that item, including its manufacturing date, location, expiration date, is the subject of that inquiry. This not only enhances your ability to deliver customer service, it also enhances your organization's drive for consistent quality by providing contextually relevant data with item-level precision. Now, finally, NFC-tagged products and packages can become channels for e-commerce. Tap to reorder use cases streamline the process of maintaining a loyal customer. Plus, because it's a smartphone-based e-commerce experience, you'll be able to, as appropriate, offer cross-sale and upsell opportunities at the moment they could be most effective. Now, we've barely scratched the surface of all the ways NFC can enhance your omnichannel consumer experience. There's much more detail in the white paper, and I encourage you to download and read it. Now to the next slide, please. If you're looking for more information on NFC's role in the retail and brand experience, or if you simply prefer big pictures instead of thick white papers, I encourage you to download the NFC Forum's infographic, The Next Generation Retail and Brand Experience. You'll find in an easy-to-read graphical form high-impact motivating statistics, a journey through all three stages of the consumer journey, and a helpful comparison between NFC and other retail technologies. Now, on the next slide, I'd also like to share that the noted research firm Strategy Analytics, in partnership with the NFC Forum, completed a major comparative study of retail engagement technologies, including QR codes, Bluetooth beacons, and of course, NFC tags. You can download the full report at no cost and see what consumers liked and disliked about each technology. Plus, you'll see which technologies and use cases consumers preferred overall. The report is available now on the NFC Forum website, following the link above. And for your convenience, we'll also include these links in a post-event email. Now to the next slide. You all, at this point, know that NFC is integral to modern retail and brand marketing, and NFC could very well become an important part of your company's strategy. Because of that, I warmly invite you to join the NFC Forum, where we welcome brands, retailers, and technology providers to sit side by side. Membership gives you a seat at the table to influence the direction of NFC technology, including technical standards, test specifications, and market opportunities. You can learn more by visiting our website, nfc-forum.org. On the site, you'll find an overview of our technical specifications, descriptions of the benefits available at each level of membership, and a wide variety of inspirational case studies, including our 2018 NFC Innovation Award winners. The NFC Forum is where NFC innovation happens. We'd love for you to be a part of the conversation. So at this time, I'll hand it back over to Susan Lane, NFC Forum Marketing Director, to direct questions from today's attendees to our presenters. As a reminder, you can submit your questions using the GoToWebinar console, and we apologize if we can't answer all of your questions today, but Susan, could you please get us started?
Sure. Great job, Matt, and all of our guest speakers. Excellent job today. Thanks for sharing. We did have a few questions that came in advance of the event, as I don't see any on the console just yet. So why don't we start with some of the questions that were submitted in advance. What would you say are the main benefits of using NFC versus QR codes?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that really comes up frequently. So QR codes had been used traditionally in a number of retail environments. NFC is really a newer technology, and the reason why people are moving from QR to NFC, there are a couple dimensions to that. One is just that NFC looks better. It integrates directly into the brand's look and feel without the need for a large blocky code. That makes a big difference, especially to brands that place a premium on their look and feel and what they represent to the customer. Further to that, NFC is extremely easy to use. So rather than downloading a QR code reader app, finding that app, opening that app, and activating the read, making sure that you have the right focal distance between the camera and the code, NFC is simple as a touch. So that usability inherently makes NFC just much easier to interact with. In addition to that, NFC is inherently a much more secure technology. On the payment side, we've seen something known as QR code paste-over fraud taking place in China, for example, in the payments industry, where a valid QR code that directs payment to a specific recipient has been pasted over with a rogue QR code that would direct that payment instead to someone else's mobile wallet. So NFC tags have a number of built-in security features that makes them more difficult to clone, and that kind of additional security assurance makes NFC particularly useful. And then finally, NFC tags in general can be configured in ways that make them uniquely identifiable. And this is not always the case for QR codes. So QR code, for example, may be locked into a specific SKU or product category. So it's not able to provide necessarily item level information. While it is possible to have an item level QR code, that does in many cases significantly increase the complexity of the label printing operation, which then in many cases can also increase the cost. So with NFC, in contrast, those NFC tags and labels are inherently uniquely identifiable, which enables a lot of those item level use cases that we discussed on the presentation today. So great question. Thanks again for asking.
Okay, thanks, Matt. We had a question come in from the questions panel on the GoToWebinar. So let me read that. What is the best call to action for brands to encourage users to actually tap on the product?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And this is something that I think in the NFC industry we've learned a lot about, and I'm more than happy to get perspective from any of the panelists who want to chime in after I make a few just initial comments. You know, in general, I think that the call to action has got to be something that that is eye-catching. You know, people do need to see it. They do need to realize that it's there. But of course, unlike a QR code, that call to action can be completely compatible with your brand's visual identity. That's a very important distinction. Now, as to the call to action itself, you're generally going to want to give people an idea of what they can expect when they interact. So rather than something extremely generic like tap for more or tap or tap here, you know, give them a sense of what they can expect, right? What is the payoff? Going back to the example that Paul Butler mentioned on the Barbadillo wine use case, he mentioned that was a very clear call to action, right? It said, tap here for a chance to win €1,000. That's going to have a much higher impact than something that generically says tap here. So being as specific as possible, being as motivating as possible by way of a payoff that you know, would make your typical consumer stand up and take notice. Those are the kinds of things that are going to lead to more engagement and ultimately a better outcome. And I'm more than happy to let any others who want to participate from the panel. I apologize in advance if I stole your thunder. But any other thoughts from the panelists? I'll give you a few seconds to pipe up. Okay, I think we covered the main points. So Susan, any other questions? I think we have time for probably one or two more.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Yep. Let's see, here's another question from the GoToWebinar panel. How can a tray of NFC tags be read quickly?
Okay, I'll do my best, I think, to answer that question. You know, depending on the type of NFC implementation, NFC can be implemented in a consumer application in a number of different ways. And And in today's panelists, we intentionally chose a diverse range. So you could see NFC integrated into a soccer ball, or you could see NFC integrated into shoes by way of a hang tag. You can see how NFC is integrated into shirts, by an integrated label, as well as the neck collar in the case of the wine bottle. So depending on the way in which those NFC tags are integrated into the product, there may be different ways that you would read those NFC tags in the supply chain. In the case of labels, many NFC manufacturers will provide rolls of labels. So there's typically a roll-to-roll equipment that's involved in applying those NFC tags to their destinations. And as part of that roll-to-roll environment, there may be a reader that is reading that NFC tag and recording information about that tag in a supply chain system. In other cases, they may be delivered as loose stock. So in the case of something like a neck collar or drink coaster, those may be distributed as boxes. So those would need to be, in many cases, scanned one by one in order to make sure that they're all working properly. But there's a lot of, just as there are many varieties in what the NFC tags look like, there will be variety in how those NFC tags are moving through the supply chain and the ultimate end product manufacturing process. So I hope that at least helps to scratch the surface of what you were interested in. But I'd say when you get into really specific technical detail, your best bet will be generally to follow up with an NFC Forum member company, which you've heard from several today. So thanks again for that question. I think we have time probably for one more, Susan.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So here's another question from the GoToWebinar. How do we break down the barriers and limitations of older iPhones and the need for a native mobile application?
Okay, so that's a good question. So you raised kind of two aspects here, and I'll try to cover both of those. One of those is the iPhone, and I think really hats off to Apple for implementing continuous improvements in the way that NFC has opened up over time. So I think those of you who are quite a bit familiar with the NFC industry know that when Apple unveiled Apple Pay, that was a really revolutionary mobile payment technology. However, the earliest iPhones were limited to Apple Pay functionality. Beyond that, with the advent of the 7, the 8, and the 10, which some people refer to as the X, those phones gained the ability to read NFC tags. And that was something that was done inside a mobile application. It could be a dedicated tag reader application. It could also be integrated directly into a brand's or a retailer's own mobile application. Now, with the advent of the 2018 models, so that would be the 10R, the 10S, and the 10S Max, again, which some people refer to as the XR and the XS, those phone models are capable of reading NFC tags from the background. So that means that without having an app open and in the foreground and scanning for tags, those phone models are able to, just with a touch, launch any mobile content that is linked to by those NFC tags. So you've seen really rapidly that dramatic improvement in usability, and that many millions more iPhone users already have access to a really top-notch, best-in-class NFC user experience. When it comes to integrating NFC experiences within an app, there are a lot of reasons why you may want to do that. Within an app, you have a lot of context. You have, in many cases, information about the user who is logged in into that app. So if it's a retailer app, for example, you know which user is participating. And so if they make NFC engagements, either with products or with touch points, NFC touch points that could be deployed in your physical locations, that not only allows you to understand that consumer's behavior, but by extension allows you to provide a better user experience for that consumer by way of a more customized experience that's based on their preferences, that's based on their interactions. So there's a wide variety of use cases that you could implement with NFC in-app, and we talked about a couple of those in the use case discussion. One of those in particular is e-commerce reordering. So the idea that an NFC tagged product could simply be retapped, perhaps within the context of a retail omnichannel app, and then launch a mobile purchase instantly to make sure that that used up product is replenished in time. In addition to that, you can think of building virtual collections based on physical collections. So inside an app, every time that you purchase a new product, you could tap it to register it within that app, perhaps get benefits associated with that app. You can think in food and beverage type applications that as you tap in enough products, then you're able to build, from a cloud database, customized recipes that apply to the specific products that you have. So again, I think the limit is really up to the imagination, and this is where the brands, their creative services agencies, and the technology providers will all work hand in hand to make sure that there's the best and most impactful user experience. So I think that probably will wrap up the Q&A portion. So I want to thank our attendees and each one of you for the insightful questions, and our most sincere thanks for attending today's NFC Forum webcast. So for live attendees, you'll receive in the coming days a link containing the webcast replay, as well as a direct link to the NFC Forum resources mentioned during today's discussion. We hope you learned a great deal about NFC technology and how it's revolutionizing the retail and brand experience in our connected world. And we look forward to being able to discuss your very own successful NFC deployment in a future NFC Forum event. So thanks again for watching, and have a great day.
Thanks all for joining. Bye-bye.